being in your business versus being on your business. What exactly does that mean? What's the difference between the two? And is one more important than the other? Do I need to prioritize these two things? So let's dive into this. There's a quote that I'm sure I've referenced several times in these videos. Okay, it's a Peter Drucker quote, and he says, "Managers do things right and leaders do the right things." Now, a lot of people could take that quote and say, well, yeah, I don't want to be, a manager. I want to be a leader. So obviously doing things right, maybe that's not so important. I want to do the right things. I want to be a leader. That's what I've signed up for. So the question is, are we leaders in our businesses or are we managers? And the answer is we are both. This isn't the kind of business where, well, listen, let me buy a franchise and let me outsource everything and I don't need to spend any time, any effort in my business, okay? Other people are doing everything and maybe an hour a week I can just sort of check in. It's not that kind of business. So we have to be effective at what we're doing. We have to do things right, okay? So we want to be good at what we're doing. We don't want to suck at what we're doing. I don't want to be poor or do, a mediocre job at what I'm doing. I want to be awesome at what I'm doing. I want to do the right things. And so when I think of doing the right things and I think of being in my business, I can't help but reference episode 22. Episode 22 is the weekly game planning process. So if you want the details, just go back to episode 22. Let me just recap them right here, right now for you. But, being in my business, it starts off, step number 1 is reflect. I want to create some great routines and habits. I want the same day of the week, the same time, the same place, ideally, to really, what do I need to do this up and coming week? Let me think this through. Let's think before we act. Then number 2 is I want to look under the hood. Okay, there's something wrong with my car. A light goes on. Let's go under the hood. What are you measuring? You can't manage what you don't measure. So we need to look at what we're measuring. The most important statistic that I've always had, and you'd have a really hard time convincing me that there's something more important to look at than this, the dollar per rep. How are reps doing on your team? So that's an important statistic to measure, but you figure out all the things. In my world, I have 7. I call them my big 7, but every week I'm looking at my big 7, and if all systems are going, all 7 categories, the business is moving up. Okay, but you think this is your car, your hood, but let's look under the hood. That's step number 2. Step number 3 is let's set goals, okay, on a weekly basis. This is one of the things that I hear people that even move on into other industries that they'll come back and say, Jamie, I learned so much. I'm doing so well in my business. I learned so much from your business. And one of the big things that differentiates people is, listen, I'm somebody that just sets weekly goals, and there's a lot of other workers here. They're not doing that. They're kind of punching a clock. So this is a real big one. So get in the weekly habit of setting those goals. That's step number 3. Write them down. Don't just, I got them locked up here in my head. All my goals are up here. You got to put it on paper. Step number 4 is email-wise counsel. Or another way to look at it, get an extra set of eyes on what you're doing. Get input, get feedback from people. High achievers crave accountability. So I want to call my shot. I want to set my goal, and I want other people checking in with me. How you doing with that? I've seen a lot of leaders do this. They'll create their goals. They'll plug in their Google Calendar. Then they'll share that calendar with loved ones, either boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, or dad. And they'll get feedback. They'll get encouragement. They'll see when you've got team night going on. They'll know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Okay. Step 5 is simply get her done. Let's execute. Let's get out there and win the day. Let's make it happen. There's 3 kinds of people in this world. There's those that make things happen, those people that watch things happen, and those people that wonder what the heck just happened. So I want to be somebody that makes things happen. Okay. So when I'm thinking of succeeding in my business, that's what it looks like. Okay, well, what's being on my business then? I want to do the right things. And so when I think of doing the right things, I can't help but think of I want to really lead people. Some have said, listen, you manage things and you lead people. So I want to lead people and I want to create vision. And that's really being on my business, the vision. What is the vision? What's the why? Jim Rohn puts it this way. He says, One of the biggest thrusts of success is to come up with a strong enough why. Why should people be a part of your cause? Why should other people want to see you succeed? What are the whys? What are your whys? Like, what gets you up in the morning? When you're not feeling so hot, what are the things that'll make you jump out of bed? Figure out your why. I've always said, the what's in the house become a lot clearer when you first start off figuring out the why. If you don't have the why figured out, what should I do? I don't know what I should do. How should I do it? Gee, I don't even know how. But when there's a strong enough why, if there's a big why, there's a big try. All right, so that's really being on your business. Another part of being on your business is just having a high level of curiosity and a yearning to level up. Just not being content with where we're at. We got to level up. Everybody in the business has to work themselves out of their position. Everybody has to level up. We're all empowered to make that happen in our businesses. So what's the curiosity? How can you improve? Let me network. Let me get with other people. Let me see what the winners in our business are doing. How are they thinking? What are they reading? I mean, I've gotten the habit over the years. I'll call people like Jim Majeski. I'm like, yeah, the curiosity, what are you reading? He'll tell me, and then I'll just go buy that book. I mean, eventually I'll start thinking like successful people think if I'm reading what successful people are reading. So again, being on your business, many times I've been guilty in my career. I'm so into the weeds. I'm so into my business. I neglect being on my business. That has happened to me. I think there's other people that they're at that macro level. They're really looking on their business and they're not getting into the weeds enough. They're not getting into their business. So again, you want to do both. You want to be successful being in your business. You want to be successful being on your business. Okay? Managers do things right. Leaders do the right things.